Hey, what's up, Disneyers? I'm the Guy01, and welcome to this week's versus episode on the Walkthrough channel. This week, it's Uso versus Uso. It is our weekly birthday versus, and it was the Usos' birthdays this past week. We actually had a couple birthdays this past week, but starting with the Usos, they had their birthday on August 22nd, turning 39 each. And then today, August 24th, is the birthday for Rocky Johnson, the Rockstar. He would have turned 80, and it is also Vince McMahon's birthday today. He turned 79. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see if WWE acknowledges, like if any of WWE's social media accounts acknowledge Vince's birthday, or if they're just gonna not acknowledge it at all and basically just treat it like he doesn't exist. It'll be interesting to see what they decide to do. So we've really just got Raw and SmackDown to talk to about this week, but there's a few things on each of those shows worth talking about. So beginning with Raw, the show began with Gunther calling out Randy Orton to build up to their match at Bash in Berlin, which is next Saturday. Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser then took out Randy Orton, left him laying to close out the segment. I think this is something that Gunther really needed, because, I don't know, it just still feels kind of weird that he's the World Heavyweight Champion. I mean, he's a very believable champion. That's one of Gunther's greatest strengths as a performer. He's very believable. He's the kind of guy where you see him and it's like, oh yeah, he's able to beat anyone, so yeah, of course he's champion. But it just feels kind of weird because he doesn't feel like he's in a position where he's like the face of the company, or he's not like the biggest face on the show. He's not the one getting the most attention on the show. And you know, when you could put him in the ring with someone like Randy Orton, who is very much that person, or they get the biggest reactions, the most publicity, most press of anyone, you really see that kind of gap. So I think that he really needed this to kind of, put more attention on him by pairing it up with someone like Randy Orton and actually, getting the better of him, as opposed to last week where Orton, just laid him out with a single RKO. But it is going to be kind of interesting to see how they do this, because I still feel like we're in that awkward stage where he's just not at that point yet where he's like, and maybe this is just how like WWE, more of an issue with WWE's marketing, but he just doesn't seem to be being portrayed in the marketing and like the promotional work as the guy. Like you don't see him in commercials, you don't see him in a lot of advertisements, outside of just, commercials for Raw, which just kind of say, hey, he's going to be here. It's just kind of stuff like that, like featuring him more like the intro to the shows. That would be something that would help. Like if you look back at like the intros to like the old Raws from the Attitude Era, Steve Austin gets featured multiple times in all of those. Like Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, they all get featured multiple times throughout those intros, and the intros to every show, really, they get featured. So I think just some more stuff like that, just to make him feel like, he's a bigger part of the show than he's being portrayed as. Because he is a big part of the show, he's the freaking World Heavyweight Champion. He's the guy. First match of the night saw Sheamus beat Pete Dunne in what was a very good match, which, is basically expected now with Sheamus. Ow. Maxine Dupree was set to face Ivy Nile. The match never got underway as the Wyatt Six came out and attacked Chad Gable, the Creed brothers, and Ivy Nile, and laying all four of them out. CM Punk came out to deliver a promo confirming the strap match between him and Drew McIntyre. I think we mentioned this last week that match was basically more or less confirmed, but now it's officially confirmed. And then of course we had Drew McIntyre come out and talked more smack to Punk. Nothing really came from it. It was just, more another promo to hype up the match. CM Punk did drop a good line though, saying that he's the Taylor Swift for men. That's a fun line. The New Day and Odyssey Jones beat Karrion Kross and the Authors of Pain in yet another match in this rivalry. Now it seems the main story has been kind of moved away from Kross trying to create dissension between Kofi and Xavier, and more it's just kind of happening more really by Kofi's doing, by him seemingly, at least in Xavier Woods' mind, replacing Kofi, trying to replace Big E with Odyssey Jones. We saw that highlighted in this match where Kofi had the chance to make the hot tag to either Xavier Woods or to Jones, and he went with Jones, which allowed Jones to get the win. And then, you see Kofi celebrating with Jones, and Xavier's like, I mean, I could have done that too. It's like, why didn't you tag me? The guy who's been teaming with you for like 10 years. So it's a new development, but it's still that same building dissension between a longtime team story that they've been trying to do with the New Day and Karrion Kross for a few months now, so nothing really new. Bronson Reed beat The Miz in a no DQ match. The Miz actually put up a bit more of a fight than what was expected, but yeah, this is definitely pretty much all Bronson Reed. After the match, Bronson Reed continued to attack The Miz, which led to Braun Strowman running out to make the save. Again, I'm not sure how I feel about Braun being the, a good guy. I think he is better when he's just like the dominant, no nonsense bad guy. But Braun versus Reed, that could be fun. Just a lot of hard hitting, bullfights matches. Damian Priest faced Dominic Mysterio. The match there was basically no match, as the Judgment Day immediately attacked Damian Priest, as well as Rhea Ripley, who was at ringside to support Damian, and left both of them laying to close out the segment. This is something else that I think is really important for this feud, because it's going to be really important in the next week or so to really build up legitimacy for the other members of Judgment Day. Because for the last year or so, basically since the beginning of the Judgment Day, they've set up Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley as the two most dominant members of the faction. They were the muscle. They were the most dominant ones in there. And now you're in a position where you have the two most dominant members, the ones who were basically acknowledged to be the ones who got everything done, going up against all the other ones who basically depended on them to get the job done. Even though there's a numbers game, after a year of again, Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest being built up as the two tough guys, the two dominant ones of the faction. Now they've kind of got to make all the other Judgment Day members seem to be on their level, and they're doing a pretty good job of that by playing into the numbers game. But I think there's still going to be now this uphill battle that WWE's kind of put themselves in, where they put so much effort into trying to get across that Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest can basically, they can win any Judgment Day match by themselves, or they can take down any and every member of the Judgment Day by themselves, and now you have them teamed up together, so it's like, okay, now Judgment Day doesn't stand a chance. So again, it's going to be interesting to see how WWE kind of counteracts that moving forward. Whoop. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn defended their women's tag team titles in a triple threat match against the teams of Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, and Kairi Sane and Io Sky. And in the main event, Randy Orton beat Ludwig Kaiser in a match that was actually kind of going into it, you're not. It seemed to be a pretty clear-cut, outcome with Orton walking away, but it was a lot closer than it seemed. And there was a point there where it was like, oh, they might actually just give it to Kaiser. They didn't, which is probably the smart move in the long term. Let him get close, but you want Orton looking strong, even though Orton can lose like 20 matches in a row and still look strong going into its world title match. Yeah, I'm not paying him just yet. I could have ended it there, but nah. Moving on to SmackDown. SmackDown began with the Grayson Waller effect, with Cody Rhodes as the guest. They did the traditional thing they always do whenever Kevin Owens is, helping out someone. They always point to his checkered past of betraying his allies, including showing him turning on Chris Jericho, which that was surprising to see. Surprising to see him mentioned. But yeah, they always do that whenever, they show Kevin Owens, teaming up with someone. It's always like, you can never trust him, he's going to turn on them eventually, it's just a matter of when, not if. They tried that thing when he teamed up with Sami Zayn most recently, basically saying that he's going to turn on him in a matter of time, it's just going to be kind of when he decides to do it. But so it's that same, that same trope. Oh, they don't. Uh-oh. Ow. Aha. Uh-oh. Oh, they don't. Got him. First match of the night saw LA Knight beat Santos Escobar to retain the U.S. title after being attacked by Legado del Fantasma before the match started. Naomi, Bianca Belair, and Jade Cargill beat Alba Fire, Isla Dawn, and Blair Davenport in a 6-woman tag. Again, kind of weird seeing the women's tag team champions lose basically any match where the titles aren't on the line, even if they're going up against, especially since they're going up against their future challengers in Bianca and Jade. Oh, what's my other signature? Running hip attack, okay. Alright, into the corner with you. Okay, guess not. Aha. Oh yeah. Alright, drop him. That's not what I wanted. The Bloodline beat the Street Profits to retain the World Tag Team titles. After the match, the Bloodline continued to attack the Street Profits, which led to #DIY coming out to make the save, only for them to get taken out by the Bloodline as well. That's not what I meant to do, but okay. Incoming! Ow. There you go. The main event, Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes beat Grayson Waller and Austin Theory in a tag team match. After the match, Kevin Owens grabbed the Undisputed title and started charging towards Cody as if he was going to attack him with it. But instead just aggressively handed it off to Cody, as he then continued talking trash to Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. So it was a psych out. They set it up to make it look like Owens was going to attack and betray Cody, but nope. Now the interesting thing about this was not so much the fake out itself, but more Cody and his reaction. Because even after it's obvious that Owens wasn't actually going to attack him and was just handing him the title and was just very fired up, it took Cody a second to kind of let his guard down and, join Kevin Owens in the celebration after the match, it actually looked like Cody was like waiting for Owens to attack him, which that's an interesting twist that they can pull on this, where basically Cody becomes so on edge and paranoid that Owens is going to turn on him at some point that he ends up turning on Owens first, kind of like to beat him to it, and then you find out that Owens was actually never going to turn on him, and that Cody was actually the bad guy in this, because there's been this big thing with like when Cody turns heel, a lot of people think the best way for him to turn heel is like in a Homelander kind of way, where in his own mind he's the good guy, but from an outsider's perspective, he's obviously the bad guy. And this is a really actually interesting way to do that turn, where he basically becomes so paranoid about, you know, other people turning on him and attacking him, and, you know, other people turning heel, that he beats them to the punch by turning on them first. And then you find out, oh, they were actually never going to turn on him, and Cody just attacked his best friend when he had no reason to. So that's actually a really interesting twist that they can do with this. Whether that's the plan or whether that was the intention with Cody's reaction, I'm not sure. But it's really an interesting way of switching up that, you know, this trope that we've seen before, where, you know, it's the two friends who, you know, it's like, I'm not going to attack you, I'm going to stick with you, I'm not going to attack you, we're going to keep this professional, even when the titles are on the line, I'm still going to be your friend. And then, you know, of course, they end up attacking the champion because they want the title, and that whole thing. Basically what Chad Gable did to Sami Zayn. But you never really usually see it where it's the champion who basically tries to basically get one step ahead of them by attacking them first. That's a really interesting twist that WWE can pull with that. And I think it's a very organic way to turn Cody heel in a way that's not expected. Now, should they do it with this feud? Probably not, because it's still pretty early into his title reign, and he's still easily the biggest babyface in the company. But maybe in the next one, depending on who his next challenger is, if it's someone who's another ally or someone who he's close with, they do the thing where people start teasing that the friend's going to turn on Cody, and then in the final moments or even during the match itself, Cody ends up attacking them from behind, because he has it in his head that they're going to attack him, and he doesn't want to be the victim, so he attacks them first. I don't know, it's a really interesting direction they can take this. And I think they're actually, if this is intentional, and this is where they're going with this, I think they're onto something that can be really fun to watch. Well, that does it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and make this all the time. Stay tuned for Versus coming up right after this. Or, nope, let's try that again. Stay tuned for next week's Versus, and next week where we continue our Disney Infinity 2.0 Avengers walkthrough. Hope you guys enjoy. Guy01 and Jey Uso signing out. Bye, guys.